Bonjour, hi. Je m'appelle Ashley et je travaille pour le département bibliothèque et événements communautaires de la ville de Westmount. I'd like to welcome you to this first edition of Fireside Chats with Mitch Joel. During this long pandemic, one of the things I miss most is just sitting down with someone, maybe with a cup of coffee, and just having a really nice chat. And that's what we want to do with this monthly series. We want you to feel like we're sitting down together in a cozy spot and having an insightful and candid conversation. Each episode of this series will feature a special guest with close connections to the Westmount community. And who better to make those connections than Westmount's own Mitch Joel? When brands like Google, Starbucks, Shopify, and GE want to decode the future, they call Mitch Joel. So we called him too. A strategy magazine called him one of North America's leading visionaries. Mitch Joel is the founder of 6 Pixels Group, an advisory, investing, and content producing company that's focused on commerce and innovation. His first book, 6 Pixels of Separation, named after his successful blog and podcast, is a business bestseller. His second book, Control Alt Delete, was named one of the best business books of 2013 by Amazon, and he was also awarded the highly prestigious Top 40 Under 40 award. Our very special guest today is Chef Jonathan Cheung, the owner of Appetite for Books on Victoria Avenue in Westmount. If you haven't had the chance to visit yet, Appetite for Books is an amazing collection of cookbooks and food-related literature. And in non-pandemic times, Jonathan teaches cooking classes, and he even hosts intimate private dinners at Appetite for Books' professionally furnished kitchen. It's a really special place, and it's a community hub for all the food lovers in Westmount. So please join me in welcoming Mitch Joel and Jonathan Cheung.
Thanks so much, Ashley. Let's see if our friend Jonathan is around. Oh, there he is, like magic. He shows up. How are you, Jonathan?
I'm doing great. Thanks. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is going to be maybe kind of awkward because we're friends. We spend, I didn't even know that this was really your business until we got to know each other because our partners are actually childhood friends and our kids play together. We hang out in the park. And then I realized, oh, you're the guy who runs that amazing bookshop, which happens to also be just perpendicular from my office space in Westmount. So we have a lot of connections, but we've never spoken professionally, and yet here we are.
Well, you after meeting you, it's made the going to the park with the kids a lot more exciting.
Yeah, and I apologize for introducing yours to Nerf guns. That's my bad, but here we are.
It's okay. I think I can deal with that. And if there's any issues, I'll just send them over to your house.
Right. Well, the eye wounds in this sort of Christmas story movie scenes we'll recreate together for decades to come, I'm sure.
I'm sure.
It's such an amazing space. And as you know, I'm so passionate about books. I'm passionate about the city of Westmount, culture. And, you know, what Ashley said is really true. It's become not only for Westmount, but for the city, this very interesting hub. And then when I think about it from a business perspective, it's kind of strange to have this small space dedicated primarily to cooking books. And I'm wondering if you could take us just a little bit back in time when, like, what was the vision for this space? How did you know what it would be? Why did you choose Westmount?
Why did I choose Westmount? That's a great question. I chose Westmount mainly because when I moved to Montreal in 2004, I moved into Westmount, right by Westmount Park. After I moved, I got a job in a kitchen at a restaurant in Old Montreal. And if anyone is familiar with the restaurant business, they know that there isn't a lot of free time. My life was essentially home, work, home, work, home, work. And I never got a chance, especially in the first year and a half, to explore Montreal. So I kind of picked Westmount as the location for the store because I lived down the street. and the unbeknownst to me at the time, creating a job that's a few blocks away from your house was really advantageous I could walk to work. I didn't really need a car at the time. So it just worked out well. The space was a great corner. Not much was happening on Victoria and Sherbrooke at that time. There was a lot of the stores have been there for a long time and a little run down. And I'm going to proceed this by saying this was in 2005. There wasn't a lot going on in Victoria. It was a pretty quiet street, except for the grocery store that created a lot of traffic. But every other retail space on that street was kind of quiet compared to what was going on Sherbrooke. This spot became available, and I thought, hey, why not try it and do it? And I did up a business plan. It worked out well. The overhead was pretty good. I'm gonna tell you, to be honest, it wasn't really a dream to open up a cookbook store. It was just something that it was a good idea at the time, and it turned out to be a good idea. Just a good idea. I picked. I had a partner at the time, and we decided that opening up there was a great idea. And the one thing that I knew that we had going for us is that we were the only one in the city doing this specific thing. And so there was not really a lot of competition. I knew that we could fill up a small space with a lot of cookbooks. That wasn't too hard. And I always had this leaning towards teaching. I really enjoyed cooking in front of people and teaching people, the real basics of cooking. So it just kind of came together, and it was a very short amount of time it took us to put this together. We wrote a business plan in June of 2005, and by the end of November 2005, we had opened.
Wow!
So it came by pretty quick, and it worked out really well, and it picked up pretty good, especially in the first year, being that we were the only one of this kind in the city, and here we are 15 years later.
Yeah, 15 years is monumental for any business. If you can make it past the first two, you're kind of doing well. A decade is great. 15 is you're a fabric of the society at that point. It's pretty amazing. Tell me a bit about the kitchen and the teaching aspect, because you can walk by the store and not realize that there's this incredible space just behind the cash register, which is a learning space. It's I would call it from my crude language, an industrial kitchen space, basically. I mean, you could do anything in there. Was that always there? Did that evolve into that? Was that always the plan to have it be books in the front, cooking in the back? What were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it was certainly the plan from the get-go. The idea for the store came from a store very similar to this that was open in Vancouver called Barbara Joe's Books to Cooks, which I used to frequent quite a bit when I'm originally from Vancouver, so I would frequent that store. And when I moved here, I realized there was nothing like it. But she had the kitchen in the back where she did cooking classes. And when I started the store, I really wanted to focus on a lot of cooking classes. So that's what we did. The kitchen has been there since the beginning. Now, you're saying how it's a commercial or industrial kitchen. It's actually not. It's actually a kitchen that you could have in your home. So I don't have any commercial equipment or anything like that. Everything in there is designed to be for a home kitchen. So when people come in, they feel like they're at home. There isn't a lot of stainless steel, like no stainless steel counters. It's not cold. It's very warm, and it's reminiscent of a home kitchen, which is really important when it comes to trying to get people to cook at home more. When we're doing it at the store, I want them to feel like they're at home. So what we're doing, they can connect the cooking that we do to home cooking. So I think that's really an important aspect of the kitchen, is that it feels like you're at home. We started off offering maybe a class or two a week in the first 6 months that I was open. And it took off pretty quickly. I have to say, after one season of cooking classes, we started the enrollment just jumped up exponentially. So I was really excited and happy to see that people wanted it, because there wasn't really a lot of cooking classes in the city at the time. And more specifically, there weren't a lot of English cooking classes at the time in the city. So we kind of carved ourselves a nice little niche of what we do, and nobody else was doing it in the city. So we had a leg up on that.
There's also a really good coffee machine in there, but we don't tell people about that, right?
I do have to give a shout out to our friends at Breville, Canada, who sent us that coffee machine. I don't think I've drank so much espresso in my life than I have since I got that machine.
And we have a lot of friends in the neighborhood who are running cafes, so we can't redirect the traffic to you for just doing it. No, it's not a coffee shop.
It's a top secret thing. It's a top secret thing.
I'm also really curious about this moment in time. We're sitting here. I always say, I don't know where we're at with COVID. Are we in the middle of it? I mean, the good news is we have vaccines and weekends therapeutics. There's a light at the end of this tunnel, but we do know that small independent retailers have had a really hard time. And the hard time might be from the fact that there is no foot traffic. The hard time could also be just having to innovate, just having to do stuff like this. In any normal part of the world, you and I would be sitting on a stage somewhere within the library compounds doing this in front of a live audience. And we're starting this series here. Now, with that, your industry cooking, I think about baking bread. I think about canning goods. I think about people air frying. I think about slow cooking. I think about sous vide. So many things that were part of the cooking zeitgeist have become massive trends within the home as people have had time. I'm going to assume that leads to people wanting to know more, whether it's buying books or speaking to you via Zoom or things like that for cooking lessons. I'm curious, one, how you're doing through this time in terms of the business and how you've adjusted and adapted for these times.
Yeah, it's certainly been challenging over the last year. My business model is kind of in a gray area. I don't fall into the restaurant realm, and I guess I'm leaning more towards retail, being that I sell books now. And as of now, I've been exclusively books. This current lockdown has been a little bit challenging, being that it's January, which is generally or traditionally slow. Plus, we're forced to be closed, so that's exceptionally challenging. We do offer a lot of curbside. We offer curbside pickup, some deliveries. If anybody's interested in anything, we're happy to get it to you if we have it, and if we don't have it, we're happy to get it in. There's going to be a little bit of delay these days, like there is for everything else, but we're working hard and to do what we can to keep going. We'll continue to be around, obviously. I really look forward to getting back into the kitchen and doing more cooking classes. And I've been hearing that from a lot of customers, how they miss coming into the store and sitting around the island in the back and joining in on cooking classes. It's been a year. It's been a year of no cooking classes. At the same time, I am actually a little. I'm not overly disappointed. I'm very happy that I get to have a year off. I've been grinding it for the last 15 years, and I'm happy to have some forced time off. Mitch, I can imagine that you're in the same boat in that you have to be forced to take time off.
Yeah, I'm quite happy. I'm quite happy that I haven't looked at how many air miles I have this year or what I need to maintain my 100K status. It's our habits change dramatically, but that's kind of what I was getting to before. Have you found, because of this emerging interest in things like baking and canning and air frying, that you're getting more and more people calling you? Have you seen that increase of interest in those specific areas? What are the trends that you're seeing that people are fascinated with now?
For sure, in the springtime, everybody's aware of the quarantine sourdough that everybody tried to keep alive.
Right.
And I'm guilty in saying that I was doing the same thing.
We have a million loaves blossoming, right? A million loaves leavening.
Yeah, exactly. There's only so much bread one can eat. But it is funny how a global pandemic will force people to pay attention more to how they cook at home and what they cook at home and what they have time to cook at home. I'm sure a lot of people have realized that making bread is not overly difficult and it doesn't take a lot of time. You just have to schedule it. And that this is a skill that they're going to have for the rest of their life. And so it's funny how a global pandemic can wake people's brains up and be like, wow, I have to cook at home and I've never done this before. I need references. And so we've been, doing our best to get books to people that need the books. We're, from all through the fall, people have been coming in and supporting small businesses, small independent bookstores like ours, and buying cookbooks. And so I have to thank all of our customers who've come in over the last 6-7 months, supporting the small businesses. And I really appreciate the push from everybody to support small businesses. But yeah, I've been doing my best to get people what they want. And cause that's our shtick, right? My whole shtick was trying to get people to cook at home. All the cooking classes that we offer, it's home cooking. I'm not cooking restaurant food. I want people to be connected to it and know, and be happy to cook something that they're familiar with, or that familiar with when it comes to techniques and ingredients. Like, I want them to be cooking at home, and and it just goes to show that cooking at home it's not difficult. But a global pandemic forces people to do something that they may not be used to doing, but then you realize that it's really not that hard and it's a lot of fun.
So let's talk a little bit. I'm curious because I'm dealing with this. What recommendations do you have for those who are kind of fed up? I mean, that's the other challenge is we have young kids. We're cooking a lot more meals than we ever had. What are your thoughts when people are like, I get it. We're doing a lot more at home, Jonathan, but like, we're kind of getting fed up with the same 3 meals over and over again, which is something that we keep hearing on the street when you talk to people.
I agree. I'm kind of starting to fall into that as well, especially in the last few weeks. I've been doing cooking classes since end of September. So I've been home every night cooking dinner for everybody. And yeah, like, ideas dry up. I hear you. The great thing is that this last fall season for cookbooks has been amazing. And there's so much inspiration. The really cool thing is that I get all these new books in, and all the cooking classes we offer are usually based on new cookbooks. So I'm constantly cooking something new. Now at home, it's a little bit different. I have been trying to do a few new things, and meal planning is not my strong point. I'm not very good at deciding what I want to eat in 3 days. I know what I want to eat today. I don't know what I want to eat in 3 days yet. I go to the grocery store once a week and I have to plan. So this is where cookbooks have really come in handy. I think having just a handful of solid cookbooks that you like, go-to cookbooks, they act as inspiration for people, and a cookbook is great at focusing your attention. You can very easily choose 1 or 2 dishes that you want to eat out of specific cookbooks. My other suggestion is to keep it simple. I don't want to spend an hour in the kitchen trying to cook dinner. I want to spend a half an hour in the kitchen, or even less. So there's a lot of really great books out there to help guide people to cook very simple, quick dishes that are colorful and healthy and flavors that everyone's going to like. So yeah, cookbooks are actually a great inspiration. The internet is a good inspiration as well, but unfortunately it's a vast abyss of never ending, untested recipes that I don't always recommend to dive into, because it can be very daunting and confusing, and you just won't be able to pin down exactly what you want. That's why cookbooks are really helpful in trying to focus your attention and like you only have what's in between the covers.
Yeah. And the curation and quality is so different too, because when you see these Instagram or TikTok recipes, it goes from like in 3 seconds to this amazing recipe. And you realize behind the scenes, it's not that. It's an unholy mess. It's just a disaster.
I can agree with that. And I would never, ever trust a TikTok or Instagram recipe. They're designed to look good, but they never work out.
Yeah. So the other side is I know you to be a humble and kind person, but you were an Iron Chef Canada. You are somebody who is known. When Anthony Bourdain, when he was alive, he did his big episode on The Layover in 2011. You were involved in that. I've often said, because of my background in music, that the new rock stars in our society and culture are these chefs, people like you. Can you talk a little bit about why you think there has been this cultural shift, this appreciation of this profession, this reverence or deference to people like you? I've been around you where people want to do a selfie, want your autograph, are super excited to be around you. What changed in culture in terms of that shift to make the people who are creating the food, not just the restaurants or the authors of the books, these rock stars in our society?
That's a great question. I'm going to give credit to Anthony Bourdain, who you mentioned earlier, for bringing the attention to cooks, and I don't know if he brought a really positive spin on the industry. It was certainly an eye opener for a lot of people, and how the industry is run and how the people are. But I guess, you mentioned the rock and roll chefs and the rock and roll lifestyle. The cooks, certainly, a lot of chefs, especially back in the day, did live that lifestyle. And I guess it resonated with a lot of people. And then you put on top of that, like, really tasty looking food. I mean, we all got to eat sometime, right? So having a beautiful plate of food that's like a work of art on a plate, it certainly makes you more connected to it. And so he certainly brought the attention to chefs in the restaurant industry to the world, and brought it to a whole nother level. And then there were, of course, a lot of other chefs that kind of ran with that, and then TV cooking shows became very popular, and then you start seeing chefs on primetime network television. So, the rise of the rise in popularity of cooking and chefs. I will give credit to Bourdain. He certainly did play a big part in bringing attention to the industry. And like I said, it was not necessarily the most positive view on the industry, but it was very rock and roll, and a lot of people grabbed onto it because, that lifestyle is very attractive, probably more attractive to look at rather than to live.
Yeah. For those who haven't read Kitchen Confidential, it stands up into this day as just a fantastic book, whether you're interested in cooking or not. It is interesting when you think about the characteristic of it and how it transcended, because he really wasn't doing any cooking shows. It was really more about exploration and culture, and having food be a part of what makes culture so interesting, which, again, we kind of knew, but he brought it to the forefront. And that's now become, Montreal really became a hub of that. We even have, our mutual friend, Heidi Small, who does Beyond the Plate. I know you do regular cooking hits now with her. But this idea that it's not just the food, it's the whole spirit of our community, which we knew from day one that food was breaking bread, is a tremendous part of what makes us us. How do you see the evolution of that? Do you think people are going to tire of it? Do you think it's just going to get more and more important? How have you thought about that at all?
Well, the food obviously brings a community together, and in North America, it's kind of it is a new, like, we're new. Canada's new. The United States is new. So we haven't really developed a lot of those traditions, but I'm happy that like a lot of the old world traditions have come here. And I remember, as a child, getting together every Sunday with the family and having dinner. And that was a big part of our life. And I'm sure you had something similar to that as a kid or growing up. And food is something that brings people together, and that's never going to die. Yeah. That's never going to die. But I'm also happy that that we continue these traditions and get together every once a week or something and have a meal together, or even just like sitting down and having dinner with your family on Wednesday night. Like, this sort of stuff won't die. And this was because, the kids see this. And I remember it as a kid. My dad used to come home from work at 4:30 or 5 o'clock and have dinner with us and then go back to work after. So this is, this is something that really stays with you as a child and makes you want to continue those traditions or work hard to bring them back once you have a family. And I try to foster that at the store by bringing people together and sitting around the table, cooking for them. And whenever you have food around, everyone's always happy. Everyone's always in a good mood and talking about your common interest in what you're liking and how you cook this and how you cook that. I know my wife, when she cooks something that she's really proud of, she loves talking about it. And that's great. If it excites you and makes you want to do it again and again and again, amazing. Keep doing it.
Yeah. So last question I'm curious about, because I don't think I've ever asked you this online or otherwise. What's your guilty pleasure when it comes to food, or what's your comfort food of choice?
I have a wide range of likes when it comes to food. So I am extremely happy sitting down and eating a bag of potato chips. At the same time, I'm also happy sitting down and eating like foie gras torchon that we make sometimes around here. So it has a wide range. I appreciate a good hot dog. I appreciate a good hot dog. At the same time, a perfectly seared duck breast is one of my favorite things. So I do have a lot of guilty pleasures, and I'm like guilty pleasures. They're not the most healthiest, but all in moderation, including moderation, right?
Especially when you're staying in place, for sure. Jonathan, I can't.
It is hard. It's actually really hard to do that, especially when you're stuck at home.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very easy at 8:30 p.m. when you realize that you can't leave your home to be like, maybe I will have those bag of chips. No one's
That's right.
I'm here. It's brutal. Jonathan, thank you so much for your time and for agreeing to be a part of this. I mean, it's our first episode, and we hope to do this every single month with somebody interesting like yourself. Let people know where they can best connect to you. And then when things open up, they can come and visit, to let them know the stores and all that good stuff.
Yeah, you can check us out on our website at appetitebooks.ca and contact us through there. You can check us out on Instagram, Appetite for Books. And if you need any cookbooks, send us an email. We're gonna get it to you. Or if you have any questions, and I also like cooking questions, so send me cooking questions.
That's great, Jonathan. So I'm going to add back in Ashley, who will close this out. And once again, thank you so much.
Thanks a lot for having me.
Hey, I wanted to say thanks so much for letting me be a fly on the wall for your great conversation. I am now also craving a really good hot dog. It was so great for you guys to take the time to sit down with us. It was a real pleasure listening to you, and I really hope that Appetite for Books stays part of the fabric of the Westmount community for years to come. So thank you.
Thank you.
I wanted to say to everyone watching that if you want to learn more about all the library and community event department's upcoming programming, you can visit our website at westlib.org and sign up for our email newsletter. Et vous pouvez également visiter le site web de la ville de Westmount au westmount.org. So thanks for watching. Merci.